Had any further questions regarding the cuts that need to be made. But real quickly, I wanted to kind of go over the general fund budget overall. There are still some things, obviously, that are pending in some of the budget. Sanitation department committee needs to get together on that and make some decisions or recommendations on some different items there. Some of the administrative accounts, we need to review those and make sure that some of the cuts that have been presented are good, and those cuts are shown here, but we need to make sure that those can be finalized. So essentially what you have before you is your total revenue and total expenses budget for the general fund. With the cuts, and this is cutting all general fund departments, what was originally proposed with the 4 hours, you have a budgeted revenue of $7,189,692, and your expense budget of $7,113,326. This is not a final budget, just to clarify. This is still a work in progress. A few things that need to be worked out and discussed. But with that, we're looking at between a $50,000 and $75,000 to the positive. If we stick with all the changes that have been made. Now again, there may be a few more things we work through this week as we go through a few more questions and issues. So with that, if we do move forward with this budget, or there are not too many changes, then we will actually have a balanced budget come the 28th when we make that approval. So I think that's a very good thing. So questions or comments on this?
The 950 transferred in from 112, what revenue streams is this?
That's the public roads and bills here. Oh, this ad valorem taxes.
That's the same, exact same amount as we did last year.
Ad valorem taxes.
It's on motor vehicles, and is it property too, or just motor vehicles?
You got that up top.
Yeah, but there's a special tax in place that's funds 112 only, and I think.
But it's still ad valorem.
Yes, it is all ad valorem.
And the 225 is.
125 of that is the park, 100 of it is solid waste.
You got any questions or comments? You'll notice in lieu of tax, we did a 14% cut based on last year's number, and last year we budgeted $2,040,000. The actual revenue was 1.9 something, remember, about 1.98 or something like that. So we went with a similar cut as last year. We hope that that's all that we see. That's where your in lieu of tax dollar amount comes from as far as that revenue. And essentially across the board, which again we can get a copy of this and on the last year's budget if you don't have that copy to kind of compare. But revenues were pretty well flat across the board. Some were up, some were down, but overall it was flat. The biggest changes to this are the TVA in lieu of taxes. Interest was reduced, and was there something else that was reduced to a great extent, Mr. Manning?
I think the TVA in lieu was the main one. Interest, I think we just reduced it, very small amount.
This number here is approximate 15% reduction. What you got invested.
Again, this is just to kind of review over the next couple days or whatever. As we get through with some of these final committees, we'll have a final budget to be presented at least by next Monday, hopefully to be voted on with any final tweaks in there. So that brings us, last week, of course, in the meeting we had discussed the cuts. So in regards to those cuts, are there any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts on how to proceed? We want to make that decision tomorrow in the meeting at 9 a.m. So, any further thoughts on that?
Food for thought. We're gonna be 50,000 for the good.
This is about 70. I think it's about 70,000, but there are a couple things I think we need to still consider. So, personally, I'd like to see 50,000 to the good to show that we have a balanced budget. gives us not much, but a little wiggle room if we see that any revenues aren't there. We don't know what in lieu of taxes are, we know they're gonna drop, we don't know how much. But I think that's a good solid number to show that we do have a balanced budget. So that's where we're at with this.
Can we, add a $34,000 overtime budget for the sheriff's department to this?
Did we add that? We should have
I
added
think we
actually.
put, I believe we put 20,000 overtime
Already in this?
already in there.
And
What did you use roughly last year?
I haven't looked at it. I may guess probably 20,000.
We were within, well, no, we didn't have a separate line item this year, did we?
No.
Okay.
It's just ran through the regular salaries account last year.
And we may say 30,000, I think we've done that the first year we were in office, had that 30,000, but, I think that should be at max enough if we did that. And we understand, obviously, even if we do cut hours, there is gonna be the need for working over, working additional hours in certain aspects, because things, obviously, the nature of the business, so the sheriff's department, I think, is the biggest one of those. Public works, obviously, we have issues, emergencies, response. 20, okay. And on the election side, budgeted basically 50% of the revenue to expense. That's about what we've seen in some past years. Purely, it's kind of a guesstimate. This last election actually only cost us 50,000 around about, I think. This next election will cost more, obviously, because I think there's more, probably.
Yeah, but you'll be splitting that with the state levy.
Right, that's why we budget 50% reimbursement on it. So, we went with the $80,000 number we had, but we did 50% of that back on the revenue side from the state. So, whatever number we say in there is kind of a moot point, I guess, on what we get back.
In 51920, Board of Registrars,
What is that now?
Board of Registrars,
And that is with the cut.
the $60 a day reduction. Or reduction to $60 a day.
Yeah, that's
Then you'll see the transfer out to the jail maintenance. Transfer out to EMA, the next one, and then transfer out, we just combine COA and all of their funds into one line.
And after, again, I think we've got budget meetings Wednesday, so, Tuesday on some of these, so again, once we're complete with all those, we'll get the details list of all the accounts for everybody to review, and if there are any further questions, we can have a budget meeting, again, Monday after our meeting, to discuss anything else within that more detailed information.
Still have the meeting to continue till in the morning?
Yes, we'll vote, tomorrow morning, we're, planning to vote on whatever cuts we plan to do for the hourly cuts we discussed.
Did you break out legal?
Most of the, if you look at how it's separated, the legal fees are essentially charged to us, except where they may benefit the general fund, so charging to solid waste or public works where they operate under different types of funds, they're charged to those departments. So if you take into consideration the amount there plus the amount charged in the various other departments, is mapping, do they have any legal, or is it all done in revenue?
I think we do a small amount for mapping. Not honestly, I have to look, their funds actually not in this one. You've got, like I say, the biggest chunk is sitting in the commission office. That's where generally most of it falls due to personnel issues or whatever the type of work we're doing there. Generally, that's what's catching most of it.
Did you have the sheriff budget for last year with you there, Bob? If you don't, we can look at it, or I can grab it. Whatever we need to do.
Last year, 2,946 year-to-date through through 10 months.
That was charged to the sheriff's
That was
office?
charged to the
Okay.
sheriff's office.
So that's
We
what
budgeted
you're
anything
talking about,
last
yeah.
year, but we did.
So the question, do we want to budget it to those departments, or do we want to leave it all together and charge it to on the commission? We can take that expense we've got listed under the commission office and separate that out if we need to. And we need to look and see.
I was really making sure we had it covered.
Yeah, we need to look and see the total budgeted last year, or the total expense last year in the commission office budget, to be sure that that does cover, you know, if we have $2,000 here, $2,000 there. We'll look at that.
We did review that on legal services.
We did? Okay. Is that what we looked at Friday?
You still taking 8 hours away from my people at the jail?
This includes cuts across the board, yeah, 4 hours per week or 8 hours.
So when did we
per
discuss what me and you talked about the other day?
payroll. If you want to,
No,
you can, if you want to discuss it now.
If y'all can help me out of the two budgets that I have, the jail is the lowest one. I have enough money to help pay for my office and keep it up and running. Maybe to the end of the year, maybe on a month-to-month basis. If there's any way y'all can help me at the jail.
You're saying,
I'll pay for the difference in the salaries for some of the money that we have
to keep the jail
to
operating.
keep the, no, to keep
keep
the
the
office
people, the
operating.
sheriff's office. He wants us to do
But
the jail.
I'm asking, can y'all do the jail? That's the lowest of the two budgets to overcome. I'm giving y'all the lowest one,
You have a dollar amount on that?
80,000, what we came up with the other day.
That's a year, no, that is.
That was for a year.
Was it eight? Let me
So,
take the
I mean,
100,000.
We were discussing that there may be some income coming in later months that might could change everything. So we're just trying to service the people in the county until we see what that's gonna have to do.
It costs approximately 25,000. I'd have to get the numbers together, and I'd need to do that for your part too. But approximately $25,000 to fund the jail through the end of the year, just through the end of the year. And as far as liability goes, did you state that you thought there might be a concern there?
Well, there is concern with jail. And we got press the other day that my biggest concern with cutting the jail down below the minimum number to provide for safety for the employees and the inmates is that the courts have held that jailers are not deputy sheriffs, and so therefore they're not entitled to immunity if they get sued. But deputies, the sheriff and deputies are entitled to qualified immunity, which protects them somewhat, not 100%, but somewhat. But the jailers are, I mean, and I don't know what the numbers are, I don't have any opinions about what's minimum, what the minimum number of staff would be, but that would be my concern, is that if we cut the jail down to a spot that is not satisfactory, and somebody gets hurt, either an inmate or one of the employees, then we got an issue. And that's my concern about that.
That's something, again, we can consider for tomorrow. I'll get the numbers together so we have an idea, but if we want to consider that tomorrow morning, we can consider that with this. If we move forward with that to 25,000, again, I don't see where we can do much more than that because we're slim on our budget as it is, obviously. We fought really hard, everybody has really. I mean, the cuts, you know, even with the changes that have been made as we've gone through this budget process with every department we've been with, they've still been looking at what else can I cut this year, you know, in addition, knowing that they've got to cut the hours back, we've still looked at other stuff that can be cut. So everybody's worked really hard to get us where we're at as far as what this is. Again, still some things to hammer out for the final numbers, but this is pretty close to where we're looking at ending up. So I do appreciate everybody that's contributed to the process.
With the commission's approval, I will be willing to donate my fund to that interest.
Okay. That might make it more feasible. I'll take a look at that. We'll have those numbers in the morning too. Your funds from this year, right? The dollars from this year? Okay.
I would too. I'd do mine too. Everybody wants to do that. And that will almost cover till the end of the year, I think. It'll be close, no, it won't hardly cover it.
What did you hear from? 5, 4?
I think
Maybe about half.
Close to it.
we'll be close to.
Okay, I'll get those numbers together if we want to consider that for in the morning. Are there any other things that we need to be prepared for or have information for in the morning? Anything else? You plan to, you said take care of the sheriff's department.
I'll do my part with the sheriff's office, you know, like I said, on a month-by-month basis, if something comes in, something changes, and, you know, I expect y'all to help us just like you're gonna help everybody else.
If we do that, and again, we'll make it, we can decide tomorrow, but if we, which, you know, if you fund it, that's your prerogative, I guess. We'll have to set up a reimbursement process and how that'll work. All right, any other questions of any kind? We'll have the 9 a.m. budget meeting, we've got our work session next week, and then we'll hopefully be prepared to pass a budget on the 28th, a balanced budget on the 28th. All right. So we have a motion to adjourn for this evening. Motion, we have a second.
Second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no.